the office there. It was undecided.
Okay,
All right,
we're
we're
on,
up.
guys.
Yep. We're up.
On.
You're on.
Excellent. All right. Good evening, residents of Litchfield. Welcome to the, this is the date today, February 10th, 2015 school board meeting. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to
to the
the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Quick. 3-4.
Moving right along, community forum.
Any revisions to the agenda? We're good. Excellent. So we'll go right on to new business, to the default budget.
Mr. Chair, I've given you each a copy of the latest and greatest calculation of the default budget, given the discussion that we had at deliberative session. The board thought it would be prudent to revisit and make any changes based on any new information or another piece of information that may come forward that the board would deem necessary to change the default. As you may know, it is the board's prerogative to change both the default budget. You can do that right up until the time that we finalize the ballot, as well as your recommendation on any warrant article. If you want, we can take those areas that show a plus adjustment. Might be the easiest way to do it.
Actually, I'd like to actually, real quickly, actually ask questions on both the pluses and the minuses.
I was gonna say, if we just, each one of changes and.
Go right ahead.
touch on it.
Well, what changed, I guess, since the last one we saw?
We made two changes. You voted a flat line budget on the curriculum.
Yep.
There was an increase there, so we put zero, so you're carrying forward, if you will, the 2015 for, excuse me, the curriculum review schedule, the 92-203.
Yep.
And then also, as you recall, I had omitted the 50,000, which was, which will show at the bottom of that sheet, capital reserve transfer of $50,000. That was the one-time warrant article that approved the transfer of $50,000 to the capital reserve fund. That was not deducted from the numbers, so we made those two adjustments, which brought it down to the 21,076,023.
Okay.
So can we just start at the one that says 55, leaving salaries and benefits alone, because I'm hoping that we just followed the proper processes and stuff on that one, but bargaining workshop reimbursements, why did that go down 5,500?
That's calculation of your membership, 124 members times 180, it's simply a calculation of that.
Is that a contract, though?
That's a contract. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a rate of 180 per collective, per the collective bargaining agreement per member, and there's 124 members, so it's just again a calculation.
And the increase in voc ed?
That is, you're gonna have to give me a little bit of time when we do this to go from note to note.
All right.
Voc ed, the budget in the 2015 did not have the number of students that are currently enrolled. We have 2015, this current school year, we have 15 students at Alverin, 13 at Nashua, 11 at Pinkerton. When the budget was...
One at Pinkerton.
One at Pinkerton. When the budget was completed back in 2013, it didn't have all the students. There was a spike in the enrollment of vocational students this year. I think you have heard Director Guidance make that comment that there was, I believe, an additional 13 students enrolled in voc ed over the summer of last year. So that line includes current number of students which were required to tuition out next year to vocational programs. Those vocational programs, it's taken the current cost of those students, and it gives you $30,391.
So that's what we're spending this year.
Is what we're gonna spend this year. It wasn't in the budget, because again, the budget didn't have the same numbers, but we have to budget those students, because we're obligated, as you've heard in the past.
Good.
Next is out of district.
Again, this is handicap tuition for out-of-district. Took the number of placements this current year. We took current tuition, I won't run down the entire list, but it goes from Parker Academy all the way down to Longview students. There were some exclusions there. There was one, we actually reduced the 2016 budget request by $50,000 because it was an anticipated placement, not an actual placement for the IEP. So we actually excluded $65,600 from the handicap tuition, what was being requested for 2016, and took the actual number of students and the actual appropriation per each student to give us the default number.
So in this case, this is one where the 1730 should stay in. Because if you default budget, if your budget for this year is $510,000, irrelevant of what the change of services are in, then that amount should go over. Maybe the 6191 should come out using that same logic. But
I don't know.
but if you're adjusting,
We adjusted for some, yep.
then this is one of those cases where if you allowed for the adjusting where you went down, then you have to allow for the adjusting to go up.
Well, that's a
Or
mandate,
you
though.
or you don't adjust either one. And you just move the numbers over the way they are.
492,700 is the adjusted number that was determined for the default based on, to give you an example, there was some anticipated student enrollments that were deducted and, again, anticipated. There were some anticipated expenditures in there that weren't technically part of the IEP.
And that's one of those ones it's just calculated because it's required by law.
Correct.
We know that next year we have to spend $492,000 required by law on special ed, so I think that does come down.
That's
That's what
not
we're
what the
required.
default budget says,
It does, it says adjustments as required by law, or contractor.
or contract, or what you budgeted the previous year. So we budgeted 510, and it's not a contract. There's not a contract
Yeah, there's no
in
contract.
special services.
No, but as a real student with an IEP that requires us to provide certain services.
Correct.
And for that same reason, we increase it if we need,
Right.
if
If
we
it's
know
the
if it
way.
goes up, we
Well,
always-
this
yeah.
is the fine line. The one but the top of it, we increased it, because you would say that's the correct thing to do, because you have increased students in there.
Yeah,
But that's your spending this year. The increase, the one above.
Well, you spent 510. See, you're moving 17,000, because you're anticipating that number to be lower this next year.
yeah.
So I personally, I think what you did is correct. And it's probably the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
However, others will argue not.
It's that fine line.
I think as long as we're.
Of the contractual
Yeah.
obligation. We know what our contractual obligation we have for next year, and that's the number that we're going with.
I think, yeah.
Let's go up, whether it be increased or decreased.
I think legal counsel's always told us, whatever you do it consistently.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna adjust that, cause it's your commitment for next year for
And this is pretty
SPED, then
consistent.
do it
Right,
consistently
yeah.
throughout.
We've actually gone back, I've gone back to look at some, this is the same format, if you will, that Mr. Martin used that when he was here as BA, and I pretty much follow the same logic as he did as well.
Next is special services, professional services.
This again was a review of all the special services based breakout. Again, taking out a lot of the exemptions from the requested budget had to do with, for instance, to give you an idea, 2,900 vision services was excluded from the default budget because it was an anticipated rate increase. Anticipated rate increase for youth transition services. Alt ed services, there was no qualifier for a rate increase in the budget. We couldn't substantiate the rate increase, so consequently, we excluded that from the default budget as well. So it was a total of 18,600 that was excluded from the requested to the, that made it into the default budget.
Who made up the other 46,000? You said the adjustment was 18,000. The adjustment there is $64,130.
Well, it was excluded in addition to that. In other words, we scrubbed it through after that, and then it came up with additional. So it was 64, there was a lowering of based on the benchmark services. So the actual services went down. In addition, from that number, we also deducted it further for the interest rate rate increases. So the level of services went down altogether.
So the next two, the small amounts, those just driven by,
Again, level of services provided to students on 504 plan.
Yep.
Under the, and, I'm not sure what word there.
and then sped transportation, same thing anticipated as far as the numbers.
Right, that was basically driven by, you know, the actual, transportation service provided, as well as the 5% cost increase, contractual cost increase for a student, which didn't include all of that 406 initial budget. 406 is, first student has a portion of that, providing special ed transportation, and there's other providers as well.
Copy of leases and services.
This is driven by contractual leases, and we have, through the year, replaced machines at a lower cost to the district. So consequently, the debt service on those leases has gone down. And I believe we removed one machine as well. We have one less machine in the district.
The next I know was question at deliberative also, the district technology plan, that's an increase.
I did some research on this, and just by way of explanation, as you see over on this next to where it says District Tech Plan, Function Code 225 and 2840, that is technology associated function codes, and then the 440 is supplies, and the 610, 650, 738, that's including equipment, furniture, new and replacement. And it looks like the district has been pretty consistent to roll that previous number, and if there was any additional costs associated with it. So in other words, you're maintaining, there will be some districts that may take all equipment and furniture, new and replacement, and call that a one-time expenditure. But the district appears to have a pretty long-standing, at least over the past couple of years, to keep those function codes in place and roll those to the default budget, the total amount, including equipment replacement if needed. Now, the 6714, that is per the plan to replace equipment. One could argue that 6714 should be a zero and only rolling the 302, 613.
Yeah, Gordon said something different, not different this time, but the way he said it maybe changed how I thought about how he usually said it, because he usually said the district technology plan is something that's approved by the school board, approved in the budget, and then filed with the state, which makes it a mandate. But then he said, and that's why it's not considered a one-time expenditure, which
Right.
made sense, because if you buy a server
Right.
last year for $20,000,
Right.
you'd assume it's a one-time expense. However, because it's a plan, it's not. So I think you do flatline it, but you keep everything there that could possibly be considered a one-time expenditure.
Right.
Would be,
And
as soon as he
that's
said
where
that, it
some
kind
will
of clicked in my
argue
head.
that
Yeah,
if you replace equipment this year, for instance, the PC,
that's a one-time
it's a
expenditure.
one-time expenditure.
Yeah.
But again, I think we've got sufficient legal opinions,
Yep.
and numerous,
That this goes, just
that
carries
as
forward.
part of a plan has been adopted by the
Yeah.
board and approved by the DOE, then it should then consequently,
Yeah,
at least that gross amount from this current year roll to the
makes
next
sense. Yep.
year. We did make an adjustment of the 67,114, which as part of the plan, had additional equipment in there. I believe it was I'm not sure what the actual equipment was that we decided on that piece.
So the tech plan is actually both required by the state and approved by the state.
Yeah.
The two of the things that Gordon mentioned.
The next is audit services. Wasn't that cut by the budget committee?
Nope, that's actually, we received, we do not have a contract with our auditing firm. We simply received from them a range of what the cost for next year's audit will be. And basically, because I think the audits have been so clean over the past few years,
They've reduced it.
yeah, the audits have been pretty clean.
How much did it cost us this year? The 22,440 or the 1,700?
It's
17,000.
probably gonna be around, 18,000 this year.
So did you get a new contract, or are you just reducing it because they sent you an email saying it would be reduced?
No, they sent us an email, and they're pretty, they've.
Not under contract with them, correct?
It's no contract, no.
So in that case, you might just carry it forward then.
You should leave it.
Mhm.
I mean, we could, again, it's in the attempt to make those adjustments that, this is quasi-contractual. I mean, we do have nothing in writing from them. We get an engagement letter like any company would with, excuse me, an outside auditing firm, but that won't come in until we complete the 2014 audit. So conceivably, that could be the 22,440, but again, where we feel that it's gonna come in around that 17,000.
I think that's what you're already doing up above as far as cutting when you know realistically that.
But those are legal cuts, because those are associated with an IEP. Where this one, I think this one should.
Contract, got it.
No, but it goes with, I just brought it up, I forget, as required by law, or as mandated by law, is what the special ed stuff falls into. This is just ongoing expenses every year as part of your audit, so in this case, I think it should be flatlined, because you just carry, it's like your utilities, you just carry them over, you know, even though you think they might go down, you think they might go up, you just carry them over, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree also. I mean, if that's where you're gonna follow it through all the way. As far as not increasing, then you're not gonna
Yeah.
decrease also.
So make that a zero change and bring it back
Yeah.
to 22.
Yeah, we got a motion, probably have the motion and vote.
Let's go through and get to the end.
Yeah.
and see what we're gonna do.
So alert now.
That is a contract.
That's a contract.
That's our, which has gotten quite a bit of use this. That's our,
E-finance, the same thing?
E-finance, same thing, yep.
It's insurance.
Insurance, that's our property casualty and liability insurance. Property and casualty and liability.
I'm sure that amount is immediate, saying, hey, it just might go up.
No, that's an actual rate for utilities, we flatlined.
And the debate on snow plowing, is that a contract or not?
That is a contract that the school board approved, it was a 3-year
3 years.
contract.
Thank you, score. I'm not listening.
Made an interception, didn't you?
That was a,
Nah, not a touchdown.
3-year contract, and there's a lot of debate again about the ability of the school district to enter into multiple-year contracts, but as you've heard before, the precursor to that is all those multiple-year contracts have a non-appropriation clause attached to them, which basically makes them an annual contract. And should the board decide not to fund subsequent years, then that contract is null and void. So it's been done for many other, not only snowplow contracts, you've got your school bus contract, which you voted as a 5-year, multiple-year contract, but again, the non-appropriation clause associated with that. You've got leases on your copy machines that have been going on for quite a while, so, again, that was a 3-year, and if you recall, it was a little bit higher than the budget amount, but that is a fixed price contract to hold for a 3-year period. Which I think we're getting our money's worth again
Yeah.
this year.
So far.
So far, it's not done.
Okay.
Yep.
The next is non-sped transportation.
Again, we went through line by line on this budget. We did exclude 10,482 from this line. A fair majority of this is associated with first students' second-year rate increase of 5%. It actually came out to be a 4.7% when we did a look at this. This includes not only from first student transporting special ed students, but it's homeless McKinney Veto Act transportation for homeless students contracted with other service providers to other schools that we tuition out special education students. So again, we eliminated all anticipated rate increases and went with actual rate increases for this. So it actually came out to be a 9,281 increase, a 2.3 increase from current year budget.
Debt services.
Correct, that was all,
Plan for it.
and that's your capital reserve transfer above that, the $50,000. and then debt service of 510,463. And then below that, you have one-time expenditures. One-time expenditures would be, by example, the security upgrades that we did to the 3 schools that was appropriated through a warrant article that the voters approved. That's a one-time expenditure that would not be carried over into the default budget. So pieces of that would be embedded in the equipment, additional and replacement for equipment and furniture and building improvement.
Anyone have any other questions?
Frank, does my rough math work? If you look at the salary and benefits that are there, as the 2 increases of 670, and you subtract the debt service, I get an increase of 162,797, but the actual increase is only 120. So all the other things besides those 3 lines were down 40-some thousand across all of the
It
others.
would be around that, yep. Yeah, obviously, the salaries and benefits, just quickly on that,
42,021.
the increases, majority of the increases, they are carried forward, not only the contractual, from the collective bargaining agreement reached with the LEA, but we also added, there was actually an increase of 7 positions at GMS per IEP for para-educators that accounted for over $117,000 of that increase. And then we had, obviously, health insurance was probably the biggest in the benefit area for that. It was $127,443, and that, again, the salaries and benefits that rolls into default is based on current positions today, roll into next year without any changes to the current staffing level,
So the contract was 240,000 roughly in salaries?
roughly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if you exclude out the additional paras.
Yeah, about 240,
Yep.
somewhere there.
Exactly. Yeah, we had some small changes in tutors and substitute salaries as well.
I'll make a motion to flatline the tech plan,
Second.
I'm sorry, which one?
the tech plan, the 6714.
So you want to take 6714 out?
Yep.
Maybe second? Further conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to flatline audit services.
Second.
Conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, which one was that?
The audit services.
Services, we're gonna add back in 5440.
Got it. Thank
A
you.
total of 22,440. Anything else, Derek?
Is, the insurance is property insurance?
Yeah, that's PDF. Yep.
Is it required by law?
I think the town.
It's required by your good conscience.
I don't know if I guess it's required by law, though.
Yes, we are.
Name on calling Geico and saying.
I don't know.
We are required by law.
Yeah, 15
Yes, to cover.
That's all I wanted to know.
I wasn't sure how to answer that, Margaret, but I figured, yeah, best answer to that is, yeah, it's required.
If not by law, at least by common sense.
Right. Which
The common sense, the common sense isn't in the RSA.
74749?
21074749, bingo. You got it?
Make a motion for the default budget of 21074749.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. 400. We want a line of $21,074,741. Article 1, warrant Article 1. It's on there in case anyone wants to have a conversation. Open it.
We'll be changing.
I have no interest in doing anything further on that.
Anyone? That'll bring us to community forum. We have to open Article 1, it's not to be approved with the following.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to make an observation about the past deliberative the other night, or day. People just kept saying, why is everybody saying night when we're at these
They
things?
said they give them this
Right.
password.
I know, everybody does it, including myself. I guess it's because it's dark in there. You know, that one conversation, it was ongoing for a while. Chris Pesky, 12 Colonial Drive. With the conversation about a teacher. Observing the budget committee, they, various members stood up at the podium and gave reasons why $21 million, 36,000? No, $21,031,613 was enough to be able to fund that teacher, should it be necessary. And there was never any doubt in my mind, and many people expressed it, that you guys would hire or fund that teacher if it's absolutely needed. No member of the school board actually ever got up and explained why $21,031,000 is not enough. All you kept saying is you need 80,000 more. And I don't think that was fair, and I'm hoping next year we could keep the conversation on track. Again, nobody from the school board explained how $21,031,000 was not enough to fund the teacher. The conversation from the school board side was, the budget committee cut it, we really need it, it's about children's safety, it's all about the children. Ms. Lepore had a long conversation about how teachers are our most valuable asset. And I'm wondering what audience you guys were speaking to, because everybody in this town understands that teachers are valuable. We all care about children. People in this town do, the voters do, the school board does, the Board of Selectmen do, and so does the Budget Committee. So I would have liked to see that conversation a little bit more on track as to the bottom line and how that wasn't enough to fund that teacher if needed, as opposed to just, we need the teacher because they're valuable assets and we have to care about our kids. Because also, when that motion was lost, shockingly, I didn't think that was going to happen, because the school board never had a problem rallying members to add more money back into the budget in past years. But then nobody stood up and assured those good people in there who were truly upset, thinking they were going to lose a teacher. And I think you guys owe an explanation, because there are people out in this community right now with kids going into 4th grade thinking that there's going to be, I mean, I guess you can consider it a lot, some people don't, but 24 or 25 kids in a class. So you guys need to reassure them that that's not going to happen, that you're not going to allow it to happen, because there are conversations going out there. They are fearful of that, and they do trust you. So you need to say it. You need to get the word out there. It's really important to do that. And you know, moving forward, if we could, you know, the budget is what it is. You guys are still recommending no because you want more money, and that's fine.
Excuse me. We recommended no, because we feel the budget committee failed to do their job correctly, not because we didn't have more money.
Actually, when you recommended no at the last meeting, I watched the replay. You said the default budget had more money in it, and you were going to vote no for
I
that
will
reason.
tell you, I voted no, because you cut the fourth grade teacher, and you didn't follow school board policy and staffing.
I'm
You
sitting here
followed
as a
a
community
very
member right
old,
now.
antiquated petition warrant article that
And-
has no justification. So if you're going to speak the truth, Mr. Pascucci, feel free to speak it, but when you don't, I will interrupt you.
My point is this.
If I can also, I'm gonna jump on what John was saying. The words coming out of my mouth never came out saying, I'm gonna vote no.
It came out of somebody in here. It was said there was more money in
You said
there.
you listened to it again.
Yeah.
But I don't recall anyone saying, I'm gonna vote no because the default budget is more. And then the only thing I'm gonna say about the teacher in the conversation as far as deliberative, I think we like beat that horse. But the conversation coming from you right now is almost like, because the school board cut the teacher, now you want us to go to the public and explain to them what we're gonna do.
Budget committee.
Budget committee, I'm sorry, because the budget committee cut a school teacher, that you're saying that, well, the public now is nervous. Well, maybe you should go and explain to them why you cut that teacher.
Every member that spoke at the budget committee did say that the teacher would be funded, that they trusted that the school board would do the right thing. And,
Maybe the school board will wait for the voters, and if the voters reject this budget, then they will agree the fourth grade teacher is
Okay.
important, which would have been the default.
Fair
Or
enough.
better yet, they'll agree with you, and we'll implement your budget
Okay.
as it stands today.
And then the last thing I want to say is, that's for the bottom line budget. I heard also it came out, it said, well, the budget committee keeps saying it's a bottom line budget, but, look, it's either a bottom line budget or it's not. There are times, if you guys pick one, so you can, you guys, the budget committee and the school board could agree on something. I mean, we know legally it is a bottom line budget, but sometimes during the year, it's a bottom line budget. It's, leave us alone, we can do what we want, meaning the school board. But this time, it's not a bottom line budget. The money has to come from somewhere, which is true. What is it gonna come from? Again, the budget committee made many examples, from the underspend this year to not replacing doors. I mean, that conversation was had. Look, all I'm asking, guys, it could be a combat session every year. That's fine. I think we're all moving past that. A lot of people in this community moving past that. And I think proof was shown that, that the $80,000 motion that Mr. Barker made to add the money back in actually failed. Again, that was very shocking, because that never happened in the past. But I think we gotta kind of move past the blame game. The budget is what it is now, and you're right, let's see what the voters vote. Maybe they're gonna vote $40,000 more and say no. We'll see how.
Well, and again, I think, Mr. Pascucci, your argument and your comments you're making, the only group of people that constantly say it's a bottom line budget, and we can go play the tapes for the town and we can sit here and watch them, is the budget committee. As you're making cut after cut and voting in agreement at almost 95%. I don't know how 8, 9 people can be in such agreement. Your comments are, well, it's just a bottom line budget, the school board will figure it out. So you should not come in here and say that's what we say, because it's not what the school board says. It's what the budget committee says, as they're justifying in their own minds and to the voters on TV, well, it's a bottom line budget, the school board will figure it out. Well, you know what? That's not how our town is set up. Our town is set up for the school board to make a recommendation on a budget, and for the budget committee to review that budget and then recommend a budget to the town that the school needs to follow. That's our process. The budget committee doesn't like being held accountable for that process. So their out is, well, it's a bottom line budget, the school board will figure it out. And you're correct, we will figure out your mistakes
Okay.
from the budget committee.
You sound like you're having a problem with the law. And
Not
the law-
having a problem with
and
the law,
is
having
it's
a problem
bottom
with
line
7
budget.
people voting unanimously on every
And-
cut and then saying it's the school board's fault, when, for whatever reason, it's not our
And I'm
fault.
not here to argue, Mr. York, but, it's funny when you say, I do watch a lot of board meetings, and you're right, there was a lot of 7-1, 7-1. The same way there's a lot of 5-0 on this board, too. Look, there could always be constant fights. It looked to me, now maybe I'm wrong, but it looked to me like the budget committee was trying very hard to explain and move past the arguments. So if we could all agree it is a bottom line budget as per the RSA, as per the law, maybe we can move forward on that, and next year, both the budget committee and and the school board can maybe work a little closer together. But first, we have to agree on the rules, right? The rules are, it's a bottom line budget.
I guess my question is, if it's a bottom line budget, then why does the budget committee go through line by line by line? and cut?
Personally, you're absolutely right, and you know what, I think that's a good conversation, which I think the budget committee should have with the next session. Because one thing, observing it right now, is I don't think the budget committee should actually go through. I think they should just vote on the bottom line.
I personally think it's taking the easy way out. I think if you guys take your job seriously, you should go line by line.
Well,
and
the budget
recommend-
committee
Yeah.
should go line by line, but you see what happens because certain things, then it could be very confrontational, and then if somebody wanted to use it and demonize the group, which seemed to happen this year, it could happen, and then there's just all the fighting again in town, which doesn't need to be there, and it doesn't need to scare people of the community. That's the big thing that I'm concerned about. There are people that are actually nervous that they're gonna lose a teacher, or kids are gonna get sick because of duct cleaning, or
I think that's unfair, too.
kindergarten is driving buses with 12th graders.
I think that's unfair as well, because when I got up there and made the motion, I said the school board could probably find one teacher. We'd have a hard time finding two without affecting other things. And that's the problem, and that was my justification for doing it. So I did say 21 million is enough if we have to find one teacher. If we have to find two teachers, then there's gonna be some painful choices that have to be made. And that was my justification for the motion.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the forum? Motion to adjourn?
So many.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.